This is the PAPERLIKE screen protector. Specifically, the one I have is for the iPad Pro 2018 11-inch edition. Comes in a 2-pack. I picked up an iPad Pro to help with my note-taking because it does have the Apple Pencil, which allows me to write on the screen. And it is in a form factor that is pretty convenient to carry around, and it's close enough to the size of a sheet of paper. I'll be honest with you, I do hate using the iPad Pro as a note-taking device with the Apple Pencil out of the box because it doesn't feel exactly like pen and paper. In fact, it really feels like plastic on glass, which is extremely slippery. And I might be imagining things, but I think the lack of resistance is starting to cause me to develop some wrist strain when I'm using it to take notes with the Apple Pencil. So I purchased the PAPERLIKE screen protector based off of a couple of reviews on YouTube that I saw, so I decided to give it a go. So I'll go over what it was like to install it, what it was like to use it, and a couple of drawbacks that I discovered while using it. Installing it was a bit tricky because the hardest part about the whole process is that you need a fairly dust-free room. I've installed these types of screen protectors in the past, and it seems the best way to do it has been in the bathroom with a warm shower running for about 10 minutes. And then once you have a nice humid room, you can start installing the screen protector. The reason for that is the humidity in the air seems to collect some of the dust and bring it to the ground once the room starts cooling down. But because I installed it in the current room I have, which isn't really dusty, just one or two specks of dust end up getting caught under the screen anyway, and it provides a little bit of imperfections on the screen. The dust is definitely noticeable when the screen is off or when it's in a darker setting, but when I'm actually using it, I don't notice it too much, and I'm trying not to let it bother me too much. But it does come with 2 screen protectors, so if it bothers you or you failed the first time, you can use the second one. It's kind of an expensive mistake, so really if I was to do it over again, I would probably run the warm shower for 10 minutes and do it in the bathroom. As you can see, the screen protector covers the entire screen except for about 1 millimeter around the edges, and the camera and sensor area is uncovered as well. The protector itself turns the glossy screen into more of a matte finish, and it also does affect the color and the saturation of the screen. And also because it is a matte finish, you lose a lot of the background reflection, which I find actually improves my usage of the device. So I kind of prefer it that way. I kind of prefer the matte look of it. But the screen protector does dull the screen a bit, and it throws the colors a little bit off. It seems like almost like a sepia or even a desaturated filter across the whole screen. So if you're doing things like photo editing or video editing or things that rely on the correct color of the screen, this might not be the best device for you. And as I mentioned, there are definitely dust that gets trapped under the screen that creates bubbles that will be noticeable from the screen with your naked eye. You don't even have to try too much to see them. You'll definitely see them. So keep that in mind. If you're really OCD about that, make sure you take the extra step and do it in a very dust-free room. So let's go into how the usage of it is. So first off, it definitely provides a little bit more resistance than the bare naked screen. It certainly doesn't feel exactly like pencil on paper or pen on paper. There is a little bit less resistance than a pen or a pencil on paper, but it does have some resistance. I think the closest to it would be like a whiteboard, but a little bit more resistance than a whiteboard. So it's not as slick as a whiteboard, but there is a slight bit of texture to it as well. And I do find that with the screen protector, it does reduce my fatigue in my wrists and my hands when using it, just because it's almost like walking on ice versus walking on snow. Walking on ice tends to be a little bit harder and can cause a little bit of joint fatigue if you've ever done that for a very long time. But walking on something with a little bit more traction actually helps. So that's my analogy, and I'm sticking with it. So in the past, I would hesitate in using the iPad Pro to take notes on it, just because the strain on my hands from glass on plastic was just enough to make me not want to use it. But with the PAPERLIKE, I don't hesitate as much, because there is that bit of comfort when I'm using the pencil on the iPad Pro, and it's just more enjoyable to use. I'll also just put an asterisk beside that, because I'm not really an artist or an artist at all, so I don't use it to draw. I use it mainly for note-taking, and it's definitely been a great device for that now that I have the screen protector on it. And with my fingers, there's definitely a different texture to it, so it does feel like paper with my finger on there. And it does create a little bit of noise compared to finger on glass versus finger on the screen protector. It's just, it sounds like you're putting your finger across a sheet of paper. So it doesn't bother me, but up to you. The first negative is that it is fairly expensive, and it comes with two, but even with two, it's about $10, $15 per sheet of screen protector, so you got to be careful when putting it on. There are alternatives on Amazon, but I just picked the one that had the more brand recognition. So you only have two chances to install it if you don't like bubbles under your screen, so keep that in mind. The screen protector also changes the color of the display, as I mentioned, so if you are really concerned about color accuracy, then consider that a negative in this case. And then one thing to keep in mind is, even though it's called a screen protector, it's only going to protect from scratches from the pencil. I don't think it will protect in case of like objects falling on it. It's a very thin film, so keep that in mind. It's not going to protect in that situations versus, let's say, a tempered glass screen protector that can absorb a little bit more impact. The screen protector has definitely changed the way the pencil on device feel, and it changed it for the better in my case. I like the resistance that it provides. It doesn't feel exactly like a pencil on paper, but it does provide enough texture that some of the hand strain that I was getting from writing on the glass screen has seemed to be alleviated from that. And the byproduct of the matte screen has actually made the device more usable, because it has less reflections from the surrounding lights. So I think that's a big plus for me. And then of course the negative is that you'll definitely need to take extra care when installing these types of screens. Any bit of dust going under there will completely cause a bubble on the screen that can be completely distracting to you. So that's my review, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.